Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Stock with the Weekly Comic Book Runner. We've covered this week's Marvel books. Now it's on to this week's DC titles. And unlike with Marvel, where some of the books from in each of the videos were likely from last week, all this week's DC books are this week's books. So let's get started, shall we? Kicking things off, we've got Detective Comics number 1058. Continuing, Shadows of the Bat. Where we left off, Batman had returned to Gotham. And it seemed as though the mayor's wife was primed to become the new psycho pirate. So apparently, things seem to be pretty much over. Deb Donovan is writing up a piece on what had happened when Batman and Batwoman come to speak with her. With it coming up, apparently it's come out that the whole thing was a scarecrow again. But Deb realizes that's not the case and verifies that with Batman, with Batwoman saying that they can't give her everything, but they do have a deal with her. Mayor Nakano makes a statement about the GCPD carrying out an extensive investigation of his office with multiple branches of the administration that failed Gotham City. We learned that Dr. Tobias Ware was a con artist, not an actual doctor. Man with a significant rap sheet of petty fraud charges who used the medical license of the late Dr. James Ware to forge his credentials. But then learning, and it said that Arkham Tower was supposed to be ground zero of an elaborate con to steal city funds. Also, the Penguin appears to be keeping an eye out for the Psycho Pirate, who's been found at the Gotham Sunset Motel. He's found by some Penguin's goons. And the Batgirls prevent the goons from taking him, only to discover that it's not actually Psycho Pirate. It's Batman disguised as Psycho Pirate. And the Bat family has a new group cave. Nightwing said it's slightly less damp than the last new Bat cave. Oracle adding it's an actual city under Gotham instead of just a tunnel Batman dug up. But Deb, Batwoman, as well as Dr. Meridian and the mayor, go to the funeral of Dr. Ware, and Dr. Meridian is placed in charge of Arkham Tower. The mayor still believes in the idea and and figures that Meridian will be the best choice for the best person to run things. Meanwhile, Naoki Nakano is trying to recover. We had a nice little bit with Huntress and Harley Quinn talking about reminiscing. Apparently, Harley had thought about a lot of things. But the Bat family is, of course, keeping an eye out for Psycho Pirate, and Batman finds him. Offering him another option. But Nuyuki is talking with Dr. Meridian. It's not stated whether or not it's not stated whether or not Psycho Pirate took up Batman's offer, or even what the offer was. I imagine that's something will, if it will likely come up at a later date, and that is where the tower ends. Which brings us to our backup story, the finale of House of Gotham, where we left off. Batman, Nightwing, Red Robin, and Red Hood were following what they thought was the Joker, but it's just an actuality of the boy, which led them to the Gotham Reservoir North Water Main. While they were in there, and after Nightwing, Red Robin, and Red Hood had been captured by Scarecrow, Killer Croc, and Clayface, the tunnel flooded. Batman orders everyone to get above ground. Tunnels are flooding, and he follows a stairwell where he finds the Joker tied to a chair. He's been taken by the boy, but Clayface, Scarecrow, and Croc take down Batman, including Scarecrow using probably more fear toxin than he should have. But the whole thing is that the boy means to get revenge on the Joker. And Batman talks him out of it. In part saying, if you're going to kill someone for this, kill me. And rather than taking the boy to Arkham, though, Batman decides to let the boy go so he can help the people he's been helping. Then, while the boy's looking for his people, though, he comes upon another familiar face from his past, Mr. Cobblepot. And the boy tries to make amends for what he did to the Penguin. But Penguin has other ideas. He kills the boy, leaving his dead body in the water tunnel. And that is where the House of Gotham ends. I gotta say, the House of Gotham had just a depressing ending. The story was great, but that ending just, yeah. And the finale for Shadows of the Bat was quite good as well. I'm curious to see where we're going in Detective moving forward. Sure, we'll find out in about a week and a half. Yeah, sounds about right. moving on to our next book, we've got Harley Quinn number 13, which also has a variant cover from, inspired by, The Batman. One thing I actually was trying to do this week while picking up my comics was also get the the Batman B covers for anything I did pick up only the Batman B covers for. So, but sadly, to no avail. It'd be nice to have them all separate. I did the same thing with the Suicide Squad variants from last year. So, but anyway, getting started. The issue begins. So, Harley had defeated Keepsake. And it seemed like others were out and about. The Keepsake was by and large a pawn. So the issue begins with a party for Frankie Peterson, former consultant to the Falcone crime family, who apparently cut down 8 people in the last week alone. A cake is brought out, however, at his party, and seemingly Harley jumps out, guns blazing, wearing her classic outfit with a bulletproof vest on it over it. But she shoots the place up, takes an ice cream scoop, each of the dead mobsters, taking out their eyes, and then leaves the mask behind on purpose. In the financial district, though, Harley's got her skates on and plans to hijack a food truck, a truck carrying food from one of the fancy restaurants in the financial district, where they just throw it away. She does manage to. She gets to the truck and takes it, and drives it to where it needs to get to, distributing the food to the people who need it. Afterwards, we then go back to the side of the beginning of the issue. The recent transfer from Seattle, Jalen Shaw. It's her first crime scene in Gotham, and yeah. But she talks with one of the detectives and points out that the detective points out to her that while the people killed weren't exactly angels, they are still victims. But Shaw mentions that the killer might not see it that way, and the detective says that that's something we have to consider. Another vigilante, with Shaw pointing out that the bats don't kill, but they're interrupted by one of the crime scene techs, one working camera in the bar, and apparently it's Harley Quinn. But Shaw's brought in to help arrest Harley. At Harley in Little Santa Prisa, Harley and Kevin go to her apartment. They've got some takeout. They're gonna hang out, and Harley's it hasn't exactly been paying much attention to the upkeep of her apartment. especially after Ivy, what happened with Ivy. But basically, there was stuff that, and Kevin apologizes for, spending all his time with his girlfriend, but Harley says, well, there's nothing to apologize. Yeah, it kind of sucked that there was stuff she really needed to talk about, and there was no one there to talk to about it. When they hear a helicopter, and then the GCPD busts down her door to arrest Harley for murder. But she's taken to Blackgate. Word gets around that Harley's coming to Blackgate as well. Various people seem quite interested in that. And the issue ends with Harley having arrived, and want to make sure that no one tries that. Nobody wants to murder anyone else in there, because that'd be bad. And that is where the issue ends. A good issue. It will be interesting to see. I imagine that next issue or a few will likely focus on Harley explaining that Harley being exonerated for those specific crimes, getting out and taking on the party trying to frame her. But anyway, that brings us to our next book, Deathstroke Inc., number 7. Where we left off, Deathstroke had taken over the new secret society and turned it into Deathstroke Incorporated. However, his daughter Ravager, as well as Respawn, a contestant in the League of Lazarus' recent contest, were watching and planning to try to figure out how to stop Deathstroke. So, Ravager and Respawn make their way in. Equipment is being taken care of, including putting as many guns as possible on Batmobiles. His Trust had bought a lot of the Bat tech that ended up on the market after the Joker War. Prometheus is training the various new ones to join up. Respawn suggests maybe they should have hit on Lazarus Island and talked with Robin, but Robin says that would have been too dangerous. And the two of them are found by Deathstroke, and Deathstroke unmasks him. Respawn and says that Respawn looks like Damian Wayne. And so Slade asks, then who are you? So we get Respawn's origin. So clones were made of Damian, and Ra's al Ghul injected a sample of Deathstroke's blood into one of the clones, and while he doesn't have a healing factor as strong, as potent as Deathstroke's, he does still have a healing factor. It was often used as a means of having fresh organs handy to replace those that Damian needed transplanted into him. But apparently Ra's also tortured Respawn often. Eventually he'd escape. and ends up on Lazarus Island, where he was defeated in the Lazarus tournament by Damien. But Ravager helped Respawn escape after he had told her who he was, and they came after Slade. But Deathstroke decides to recruit him into the family. And he explains that he recently he saw something, darkness, and he knew what he needed to do. He said there's something coming, and he's going to prepare for it. Adding that Ravager knows it too. Her precog powers. When she looks ahead, all she sees is nothing. But Rose and Slade have a further argument, and she tries to get Respawn to come with her, but Respawn opts to join Deathstroke. And, well, Respawn decides, like I say, he's just joined Deathstroke. And Slade tells, when Respawn asks what now, Slade simply says they train and prepare and kill everyone who gets in their way. We have an epilogue in Metropolis. Lex has returned from Batinia, where he was from Batman 118 and 121. Apparently, however, Lex has a call on his personal line, so he takes it. It's the Legion of Doom, wanting to know what they're going to do about Slade Wilson. Apparently, Cheetah's filled them in on what she learned during her chat with Slade. And Lex simply states that they'll see what kind of trouble Slade gets into first before they decide on a course of action. The only member of the Legion not actually involved in said call is the Joker, who is simply listed as being on vacation. That is where the issue ends. And as I recall, this is all going to be building up to... Right now, Deathstroke Inc is building up into Shadow War, which I believe Shadow War Alpha should be coming out this week. So, but Shadow War will be a I want to say 6-part, or I guess technically 8-part crossover between Batman, Deathstroke Incorporated, and Robin. Should be fun. And that brings us to our next book, Task Force Z, number 6. Where we left off, Mr. Bloom had officially betrayed Task Force Z, and Jason Todd was in Amanda Waller's custody, and specifically the clutches of KG Beast. So the issue goes back and forth between months ago, showing the creation, the utilization of Lazarus resin, and the destruction of the lab by Mr. Bloom, and the present where Jason Todd's being tortured by KG Beast, but Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, and Bane have showed up to save Jason, which they do. Though, as the members of the task force do mean to kill KGBs, Jason stops them, but turns out he had a explosive contingency device, and Freeze puts up an ice wall to protect them from the blast. Um, and apparently now the task force simply consists of Bane, Freeze, Two-Face, and Jason. Especially Deadshot's brain has been destroyed. They can't find Sundowner or Man-Bat's head. But the setup for there was additional setup for Task Force C, including Bloom talking to a senator. In hopes of getting things in front of him. Who had an idea he wanted to bring to Amanda Waller. As the task force escapes the lab, Batman shows up. Jason goes to talk to him. They duke it out. But Jason tries to get Batman to listen to him, and eventually he does. But we also see some early tests on the Lazarus resin, and yeah, it's Bloom has definitely betrayed the task force, but we get more. We get part of Dent talk and the senator talking with. Talking to Waller about getting set up, and apparently, it was Dent's suggestion to have Jason Todd brought on board, which causes Waller to say that call him a nasty piece of work, but she loves it. However, Waller's gone, and the plan now is for Task Force Z to go after Mr. Bloom, and that is where the issue ends. Task Force Z's been a fun read so far, so yeah, I'm enjoying. It was a good issue as everyone has been. So yeah, moving on to our next book, we've got The Human Target, number 6. Where we left off, the human target, who'd been poisoned recently, came upon some information that seemed to point to Fire, known best for her time in the Justice League International, was somewhat responsible for his poisoning. Of course, the human target has, in the past few days, gotten very close with Fire's best friend, Ice. So the issue begins with human target having told Ice that it's looking pretty much like, yeah, is responsible for poisoning him. Ice disagrees and leaves. Human Target goes to see Dr. Midnight. There's no real improvement, but they did manage to at least figure out how he got poisoned, Mr. Bread. Dr. Midnight offers to take Human Target to church with him. Human Target and then reconnect, makes up with Ice, and they're spending the day together. Seems like in their gusto they froze the pipes out of her place. But Target's getting ready and to go back into the case when Guy Gardner shows up. Mad as hell, especially seeing as how recently Guy had managed to get his ring taken from him by Human Target, impersonating Hal Jordan. Ice does what she can to stop Guy from hurting Human Target, and Guy's just a prick to her. But Human Target takes a shot at him, which divides his attention, allowing Ice to let loose on him and freeze him solid. And all it takes after that to take down Guy Gardner is one punch. In a very nice nod to Justice League International #6, when Batman knocked Guy out with one punch. Only this time it's a frozen Guy Gardner, and his head shatters, and then Ice pushes over the headless frozen body, shattering it as well. But the big question comes up later between Ice and Human Target. Now, that being if he thought that anyone knew Guy was going to be there. And it's explained that apparently Guy Gardner likes to keep the locator on his ring off so that no one knows where he is. Which irritates the other Lanterns to no end, because sometimes he'll just be off on a mission for months on end and then just miraculously show up. So Human Target gets back on the road, ends up at Luigi's restaurant, check on things, and well, someone's waiting for him. It appears to be Fire, and she already knows him. And that is where the issue ends. Human Target's also been good from the get-go. I am starting to wonder if it is Fire who's responsible or if it's someone else, but hopefully we'll see soon. And that brings us to our final book for the week. Oh. Drat. I was trying to do that normally, but yeah. Rogues, #1. So just a quick thing. The Rogues are the Flash's more working class supervillain types. These are the kind of guys that have, amazing tech or even powers in general, and use them to, knock over banks, rob museums, jewelry stores. Nothing big. Occasionally they work with groups like the Secret Society or the Injustice Society, League, Gang, Foundation, whatever the Injustice du jour is. So on and so forth. They don't usually get involved in big. They're not running they're not in charge of the big group of supervillains that pops up during a big crisis style event. They've just been recruited. So The issue begins at a supervillain bar in Central City. A guerrilla detective is there drowning in sorrows. His girl's left him. Various people ask him about her, and he's even initially mistaken for Gorilla Grodd, but it's explained that he's not Grodd, and Grodd didn't come to Central City for money. It was power. Gorilla City's rich. He explains there's a vault full of so much gold that it's never been counted. Only reason the Grodd came here was power. As he's explaining this, Captain Cold comes up to get some shots. A fight breaks out while the rogues are doing their shots. And then we fast forward to 10 years later. Cold is old and on probation. His parole officer comes for a pee sample, and also make sure that Cold is living up to the terms of his parole, which he is. But Cold goes to work and actually gets a promotion. Overhears the bosses discussing things, and realizes that it had nothing to do with his performance, just something to look nice for the company. So he heads home. As he does so, he gets madder and madder. Gets there, tears his place up, and finds some of the, and basically makes himself a new Cold gun. Meanwhile, his sister Lisa is working as a social worker. Cold finds her initially, and her initial reaction to seeing her brother is just kind of, nope, not doing this. But Cold manages to talk to her, and he'll say, hey, I want to run the idea by you. I'll listen to you. But next, they need a con man for the heist. Your con man of choice is none other than James Jesse, the trickster. Cole's waiting for him in his dressing room after a magic show. Plastic surgery's done wonders for him. And initially, Trickster's out. No, he's not interested. Next, they go after Bronze Tiger, also retired. But it takes some convincing, but yeah, he's in. Next is Magenta. She's prescribed pills for her keep her powers in check, but she can't afford to refill her prescription, and she starts to lose control. But Lisa shows up, pays for the pills, and recruits Magenta. Then comes Heatwave, who's burning down a building. Because it's Heatwave. That's kind of his shtick. Cold shows up to recruit him, and without even giving the speech, Heatwave's in. But they meet to go over the plan, and Trickster shows up. And the plan is they intend to steal the gold from the vault in Gorilla City. There's one person they still need though. Mirror Master. Cold knows where he is. They go to break him out. Turns out he's in rehab. So Evan McCulloch, the third Mirror Master, if I remember correctly, Captain Boomerang, George Digger Harkness briefly assumed the identity for the Suicide Squad, but the current Mirror Master, Evan McCulloch, has canonically had issues with cocaine use. and that's why he's in rehab. But the rogues break him out, and he's on some serious high-grade medical sedatives. It suggests they don't bring him, but they need him. They can't pull the job off without him. So, meanwhile, Heatwave is stopped by the security for the rehab place. Alarms go off, and things kind of go sideways. Then Golden Glider starts to lead everyone in surrendering, but Cold freezes the guards and then kills them by shattering the frozen bodies. And they're off to Gorilla City. That is where the issue ends. So yeah, I was already sold on this book when I saw it. When I saw the solicits for it, but this is really good. I'm honestly looking forward to reading the rest of the series. It's very much striking me. I imagine not all 7 of the main characters are going to survive, but hey, if I'm wrong, great. Anyway, that is going to do it for this week's roundup. We will have a Building the Team video later on this week, as well as Mutant Monday. So yeah, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.